Hey guys, welcome back. This is kind of the sequel to Take a Shot episode 4. Where's our shots at? I guess we just got beer. Cheers. Hail to the Chiefs.
And Red Bull.
And Red Bull gives you wings.
Yeah, how do you drink?
Okay, so we just watched the draft, the first round, so we're going to react to it. But as Chiefs fans, the first thing we're going to do is react to that pick. So they took Felix, and I'm not going to pretend to pronounce the rest of his name,
So as we were watching the draft, right, like pick 19, 20 comes around, we were all kind of sitting there going, man, this board is really falling very well in the Chiefs' favor. The next 10 picks really kind of fell off there. And that's not a knock to say that there weren't good players available. I mean, that's what happens when you pick 31. That's what happens when you win the Super Bowl. You know, the superstar type blue chip players aren't going to be there, right? So it really came down to what do you value? You know, you had Michael Mayer on the board as an option. You had some defensive ends and Felix and
Joey Porter
Jr. on the defensive backside. So it really just came to what you valued. I personally would have liked to trade back there.
He never got drafted.
Who?
Joey.
Yeah, I know.
No.
He's going the next pick, Steelers.
But looking at the pick,
I like that.
every time I was doing mock drafts, like Felix was always kind of my safety valve at 31. I was like, well, if all else fails, Felix is there. So I don't think that that's a bad pick. Local kid, at least I'm a high school. I mean, let's just take a second and think about how cool that is for him. Like, so he plays high school football at Lee Summit, goes on to K-State, and then gets drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, that's a pretty cool scenario for a local kid, right?
Because you already got to travel when you're playing in college. You're going to get to travel more when playing in the NFL. So it's like you get to experience the rest of the country and be like, yeah, big city, whatever, but you're comfortable where you're at. Yep. This is a team that needed you. So, yeah, I think it's perfect. And I think that was the tiebreaker. I think there were some other people we maybe were considering, but I think the tiebreaker was the fact that he was a local kid. And they're like, this isn't going to be the type of guy that's like, dude, pay me or get me out of here. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, I don't think we're worried about that in the future.
Yeah, I like the pick. I think there's a lot of upside. I heard a lot of talk when they were talking to a lot of the offensive tackles in the Big 12, and they were like, hey, you know, who was the biggest guy that you went up against or the hardest guy to defend when you were on the edge there? And everybody, including Anton Harrison, who went a couple picks before him, all said Felix. They all looked at Felix and said, that guy's special. Like, he's hard to block, he's unique. And he fits what the Chiefs want. They want those big guys that can set the edge and play the run. And I think he fits very well with Karlaftis. I think that's a good pick at 31.
It fills a need. Jeffrey?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first thing that I mentioned was, man, doesn't that size, strength, and weight, height, everything resemble to Frank Clark? I mean, I just feel like we just got a younger Frank Clark at this point. And with the fifth-year option, now we can kind of gamble into the aspect of, okay, let's see this guy develop. Let's see this guy mature. Like Caleb said, now he's on the other side of Karlaftis. Now we've actually set up the front line, the front seven.
And then we still have that guy we got from the Niners, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Didn't he get in legal trouble?
I don't know.
Yeah, there was a little legal trouble there.
I didn't hear anything. So,
anyways, but once again, yeah, it just sets up. Like I said, I keep saying, you know, the front seven is going to make obviously the secondary look a lot better when you're able to get pressure and to the quarterback. So,
no, I agree with that. This will allow us to get a better look at those guys in the secondary and go
like Caleb said, I think the first mock drafts were all singling towards him. He was the pick. He was going to fall to us. He's the most, you know what I'm saying, like the team needs this and that. I love the aspect, like I said earlier, you're starting at a certain section and now you're starting to build and develop it instead of, you know, just picking spots because, you know, it's the best value. Let's reach for this guy. I mean, obviously in a perfect world, yeah, there's a couple offensive tackles that could have for sure maybe, you know, solidified the right tackle position.
But it would have been a reach where we were drafted at, yeah.
And once again, you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. I don't.
Bug flying around.
Is there?
Huh.
I thought I heard.
Oh, I got it. Okay, but anyways, so once again, yeah, there's a couple of guys, whether wide receivers, this and that, the fancy.
Is that a moth?
The more.
Is it a moth or something else? Oh, it's a
This
June
is
bug?
live right now. Let's watch three of us catch them off, okay?
That's not. If it's a June bug, screw
June bug,
that.
I need a little protein. I was
Yeah,
going
screw that.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
anyways.
so that's the Chiefs pick. Well, and like I said, we can react later on to like the rest of the draft, as it happens in the next 2 days. But
One other thing I'd like to hit on there too is, I said in the first segment of episode 4 here that I was really certain the Chiefs were going to move up, and as the board fell, I'm glad they didn't. There's still a lot of really good guys on the board going into round 2, and this creates a lot of flexibility to where if they've got another guy that they've got a really high grade on, they can move up in round 2 now.
Well, then this is the perfect opportunity for the Chiefs. Obviously, throughout the draft history, the second and third rounds is when we make our money. This is when we start doubling down and start, Creed Humphrey, Nick Bolton, so on and so forth. A lot of these
find
guys,
some hidden gems.
well, and if not, they become instant starters. If not, borderline. I mean, he was voted the most best offensive.
I thought he was voted, at least if he's not the best center, if that was going to Kelsey, he was the second best center.
He was all pro, yeah.
Yeah, and then same thing with Nick Bolton. I mean, look at what he did in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Look what
Yep.
he's, the most.
I want to remind everyone he was my dark horse for Super Bowl MVP.
But once again, I mean, look at Willie Gay Jr. I mean, there's so many guys that, in these further rounds, it doesn't necessarily take the first pick to be like, oh, wow, we got our for sure.
Yeah.
This is when the Chiefs start making their money and start, doubling down and really start, raking in the, okay.
So next, I want to go over like basically quick rundown of like the top 10 picks. We can do a later episode, like here in a week or 2 weeks, whatever, a full deep dive on the draft. But real quick, so Bryce Young, number 1 to the Panthers.
Yep.
That was the consensus pick after like the last week or so.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Solid pick. I think the Texans kind of, for me at least, you guys were pretty set on CJ when we were going through the draft. I was certain, and I had the wool pulled over my eyes there.
I don't think you did. It's just the aspect of the same sense, like I said. I don't think he was the best pick for what they need right now and what building into that franchise. But in the same sense, like I said earlier, it's a new head coach. He's got his job security. You almost intertwined, if not, you're really pulled into that pick at this point.
I think for me, you want to give all the guys on your roster, they want to at least have a belief that like if this quarterback that is on our team, whoever it is, if that guy can reach his potential, hey, we might make the playoffs. Like that's in the NFL, every team has that like, dude, we might be able to make the playoffs if we build a roster. I think if you walk in there with Davis Mills again, everyone's like, we have no shot, and it's just that it brings the room down. So I think that was the main reason why they're like, take a quarterback.
But once again, they could have doubled up on defense and then
Oh,
just
yeah,
taken
yeah.
a Hendon Hooker in the second round.
They could have, yeah.
So I mean, obviously, they think highly of the second overall pick for their franchise quarterback. I mean, that's it. That's plain and simple. That's why we talked about these picks in these first top 10,
And I don't-
15. You're an instant starter.
I don't think they could have risked letting him slip to 3. Like if they were to take Will Anderson at 2, I don't think they could have risked it because someone could have traded with
Oh,
Arizona
okay,
and been like,
traded.
we want CJ Stroud.
Okay.
And I think that's where the biggest surprise of the draft came was number 3, right? Like
Yeah.
Houston being like,
Didn't see them double dipping like that.
no, just dropping their balls on the table and saying, hey, we are going to take CJ Stroud, and then we're gonna come back around and we're gonna draft Will Anderson too.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge win for them, and we talked about it like, live when it was happening. Like, don't get 2 guys that you're kind of okay with. Go get 2 guys that are your guys.
Yeah, right.
They got their cornerstones on both sides of the ball now. Go.
And I think that's it's great. And like I said, if you have the extra draft capital, and you want, like you said, it's different. Like you said, if you have some leaders, but you're like the rest of the roster still needs to be filled out, okay. But if you're like, it is barren, we need a guy. We need a guy that everybody else is going to look up to and go like, I'm going to follow that guy's lead. That's kind of what I think what the Texans were thinking with Will Anderson and double dipping, and I can see the reasoning for that. So yeah, I like it.
We got Anthony Richardson going 4th there to the Colts.
I thought it was going to be Will Levis, but like you talked about, you thought it was going to be Anthony Richardson. I think who'd you have?
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, and I was like, I think that's the right pick. He's the guy with the most upside that was left on the board. And the Colts, you couldn't walk into next season going, we'll wait on a quarterback. No, just couldn't do it.
No, and for what Shane Steichen wants to do as a head coach, he wants to run the ball. You look at what his offense was out there in Philly. Jalen threw the ball decently, but when you've got a rookie quarterback, you're going to want to lean on the running game.
And you really only have like Pittman as like the only like great receiving option.
Yeah.
Everybody else, I'm just kind of like, they're okay. So
you're going to have that dual threat option with Richardson
Jonathan Taylor.
and then you got Jonathan Taylor there. So
I like it.
yeah, I like what they're building there.
Yeah.
Seattle, we were all kind of certain that was the Jalen Carter range there. Jeff, I don't know who you had there, but
Tyree Wilson, I mean, cornerback. I mean, there was a lot of
I'm
options.
trying to remember. Yeah, I thought you said Tyree Wilson.
Yeah,
Was who you
if
had there.
not, they could have gone. But
I like the pick for Seattle. I had Devin Witherspoon as the best corner in the draft.
Just happy they didn't take Will Levis, didn't take a quarterback. I'm happy they just like, no, let's take a guy we like, because I wouldn't have been happy if they go, we got Geno and then let's just fucking take a quarterback to sit behind him. I wouldn't have liked that.
Arizona goes and trades back up there, so they moved back to 12, and then they moved back up to 6, and they took Paris Johnson. So interesting there. If you look at what they've done since they've drafted Kyler, they've taken defense. Every time they've had a high pick, they've gone defense. And for once in the Kyler Murray era, they're going to try to protect him. Now, granted, they're not going to get Kyler Murray back until probably about halfway through the year.
I thought about
through
week
injury.
7.
Do we know who their backup is? Is it still Colt McCoy, or did he
It's still
retire?
Colt.
It might be
McCoy?
Colt McCoy. Yeah, that's probably right.
I don't like that.
But you're bringing Paris Johnson in. He's going to be able to get his feet wet, and by the time Kyler comes back, they're going to be able to build some rapport together, and then maybe in 2024 they're really well.
And that's the thing. They could have kept the 12th pick and not had to trade back up, and they could have gotten a tackle. But they must have, like you said, they must have really loved Paris Johnson for them to be like, no, we can't risk it. We got to move back up to 6 to get him.
Yep. And you had the extra draft capital after
Yeah.
making that move because they got a haul to move from 3 to 12.
Well, now at least you're starting to put the pieces around of, okay, this is what we're going to start doing to fill in the positions to revolve around.
And even though I'm not a big Kyler Murray fan, I'm like, if you're already paying him that much money, you might as well try to make it work.
Yeah.
Right. You're not drafting at 6 to be all like, okay, well, this guy's going to be a depth guy. You know what I mean? Or, you know what I'm saying? So.
You got the Raiders. The Raiders take Tyree Wilson. They are playing the game of let's get to the quarterback. You got Max Crosby, Chandler, and Tyree Wilson now. Like they are playing a game of we have all the
Well, now they
rushers.
got a rotation. Now
Yeah.
they can straight up be like, okay, cool. Like one of them gets tired, bring Tyree in. Yeah.
That's the only thing that is, I think we talked about it earlier. I mean, we've seen franchises do that with quarterbacks. We talked about it tonight, maybe possibly going with Arizona. I mean, obviously, we've seen Arizona do it before where, they drafted Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray the next year. I mean, obviously, they just, plain and simple, whether they signed Chandler Jones, they re-signed
Crosby, they didn't care.
Crosby, but in the same sense, now they're all like, okay, it's not working. We're going to go with the,
I think it's a mixture of they see that down the line Chandler Jones won't be long term there. He's there for a little while. And I think the other thing is, Jeff, kind of what you talked about, you were high on him. The freak aspect of his build, they're like, we can't pass that up. Doesn't matter if we already have a guy there temporarily. They're like, no, we can't pass that up.
Exactly.
So, I don't fault that.
I think this was one of the biggest surprises, if not the biggest surprise in the top 10. The Atlanta Falcons take Bijan Robinson.
I didn't love it.
I don't know that I love it, but the more that the time has gone on since that pick, I've kind of come up with a rationale for it. So you've got, obviously at this point, you're saying, hey, we're rolling with Desmond Ridder. He's our guy. We're going to roll with him. What do you do for a quarterback who's more of a game manager or a young quarterback who maybe needs to develop? You build a running game. So now you've got 2 really good running backs there. You got
Drafting
Bijan
some
Robinson.
competition. That's what they really need. But
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but obviously they didn't love Will Levis there, and there's a reason Will Levis fell out of the first round. So a lot of teams didn't
I
like
don't
it.
even think just the Will Levis aspect. It's just the fact that what Atlanta was able to do, and granted, Marcus Mariota, so on and so forth, but what you were able to do in the run game last year, and you had Cordell Patterson,
Tyler Algier.
and then one other guy.
Marcus Mariota. I mean, you were able to successfully have somewhat of an offense.
Because Arthur Smith is actually one of the better running coaches. He actually schemes the run really well.
And that's what I'm saying. And so for you to just purely, once again, you need a quarterback. You need a lot more than just.
I found it a weird fit.
Bijan.
I found it weird.
I think it's weird, but you look at what made Arthur Smith successful in Tennessee was running with Derrick Henry.
I know, but
And Bijan Robinson, as much as I'm the first guy that will tell you I don't value running backs that early. If you're Arthur Smith, that's what your offense was built around there. So I personally don't understand the pick, but I can come up with a rationale as to why the Falcons.
If you can play devil's advocate.
If you think he's
okay.
going to be a star, I get it, but at the same time, I'm just like, I'm good with Jeff. If you had higher top prospects that were on the board that fill more prominent needs,
It almost makes me feel like they were scared because of the factor of like they thought the Eagles were going to draft him before them and they were going to miss out. And I'm just like,
I think the Eagles might have.
But why would you create your whole draft aspect based on that? And that's what's weird to me
so
about Atlanta.
here's a quick little good question for you guys. If, let's say, Robinson was still on the board and it goes to the Eagles pick at like 9, whatever, Jalen Carter, Bijan Robinson, who are you taking?
Do the Eagles still have Miles Sanders?
No,
they get rid of him.
Carolina, yeah.
So that's the
But
only.
they have Ezekiel Elliott now.
And so
So who would you go Jalen Carter?
if I was the Eagles, I wouldn't worry about that aspect. I wouldn't worry about.
you take
Bijan.
Jalen Carter?
Yeah,
I would
still.
take Jalen Carter too.
I would too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once
but
again,
I don't think so. This is me looking at how the draft board would have fell. Let's say that Atlanta went with a corner there or whatever. They went with a different position, offensive line. And number 9 was originally held by the Bears. The Bears at that point probably don't trade with the Eagles because the Eagles say, okay, well, we have our top 2 picks on the board, Bijan and Jalen Carter. One of them is going to fall to us at 10. You do whatever you want.
Right.
The Bears probably would have taken Jalen Carter there. And then 10, they're going to be like, cool, we'll take Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
So I think it's just how the board fell. Which brings us to number 9. Jalen Carter to the Eagles. I don't know about you guys. I love that pick.
Steal of a
Yeah,
deal.
great
Steal
value,
of a
great
deal.
value.
Yeah.
And you got that. They got that from that pick from the Saints originally. I mean, before it was traded down one spot, but like the 10th pick, they got that from the Saints. So what was that deal? That was when the Saints moved up to get Chris Olave last year, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
What a that team, that GM Howie Roseman, right?
Howie Roseman, second
Killing
best
it.
GM in the league.
Yeah, killing it.
I love that Jalen Carter pick. I mean, we could talk further about the draft, but now they got Nolan Smith there at the 30th pick. They got Jalen Carter. They got Jordan Davis.
And I know they were
Kobe
losing.
Dean.
They were losing a lot of the guys they'd gotten were like on 1-year deals. Their defensive linemen.
Yeah.
So I know that they kind of basically filled those gaps. So yeah, I mean, I think they did a really
You
good
already had a
job.
complete team. Now you just filled. Yeah, like you just said. Caleb.
They took that. Hey, we didn't get any sacks in the Super Bowl pretty seriously.
Mm-hmm.
They took that 0 sacks and were like, we got to do something about that.
And we'll get to it, another podcast. But that Nolan Smith pick, like you said at the end, it's like if no one else is willing to take him, they're like, look, we're us getting him at the 30th pick. They're like, that's great value. Like
Yeah.
we'll take. Yeah.
I'm not saying this is the NBA, but once again, there's another team out there. Maybe they need a different need, a better halfback, so on and so forth.
Yeah, because with Philly, it's like they already got so many other guys. They're like, Nolan, you can just fit in. You don't need to be the guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
coming to be another rotation guy.
Nolan Smith, Ezekiel Elliott for Derrick Henry.
Then we round out our top 10 here.
Okay, go for it.
Chicago Bears select Darnell Wright. I know that was one of Jeff's, if not his biggest draft crush. I think that's the right pick for the Bears, right? You say, obviously by trading down to number 1, Ryan Poles said, we are investing in Justin Fields. He's our guy going forward. You got weapons for him with the DJ Moore and Chase Claypool. So now you're like, okay, we got to protect him. We actually have to give him a chance to show that he can pass the ball. Let's go get who we think is one of the better tackles in the draft. And you go get Darnell Wright, and now you're going to protect him. I like that pick for them.
Yeah, and like when you look back at total what they were able to turn that number 1 overall pick into, they got the position that they needed the most, and then they also don't they have like next year's first?
They got next year's first, yeah.
Yeah, that you did good.
Yeah, you did real well. And you got DJ Moore.
Yeah.
So you got a weapon.
Overall, on that roster on paper, it's a pretty solid team. Besides, obviously, you have the offensive line, and that's a big, pretty need that I think you filled.
They did fill some slots in free agency. I did like that, but I still think that roster needs some work. But I'm interested to see if what you're talking about is true. That basically now that they got their tackle to protect Justin Fields, now he's got some weapons. That line's going to be a little better. That defense should be a little better. What kind of leap they can take, Jeff? Because I know you're high on them.
Once again, you're taking advantage of what the division is right now. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers left. Obviously, the Vikings has kind of been every other year, this and that. Mm-hmm. Now we have 5 guys that were suspended from the Detroit Lions. I mean, and we saw what the Lions did with their picks. So this is the time.
I think the
this
Lions
is the
have screwed
time.
it up. The Lions-
This is really the time.
So
Perfect transition.
That's a great segue. I'd like to talk about who the winners and losers of the draft are. Let's start on a positive note here. Who's your guys' winners of the first round?
Jeffrey, you can go first.
So obviously, besides the Patriots pick with Christian Gonzalez, I think what we talked about it earlier. Besides them, it was. Hold on, let me.
Yeah, scroll through there. I'll go first while you look.
Yeah, go for
it. I think I'm going to take the easy route here. I love what the Texans did. I think the Texans are the big winner of the first round. They went out when nobody thought, really, from a national standpoint, up until maybe an hour before the draft. Everybody was on Will Anderson was going number 2, and then they would figure out what they were going to do with 12, maybe trade back up later. They got both of their guys.
Which is, it's hard to deny that they won the draft. Like, it's
Like, they shocked the world from going 2 to 3 and going back to back in the top 3 picks. Like, you get 2 of the 3 best prospects in a draft. It's hard to say that you didn't win the night. So I'm going to take the easy route and say the Texans won the night.
You want me to finish?
you can go next and I'll go last.
So yeah, obviously, yeah, the draft value of Christian Gonzalez going all the way down to the Patriots. I think we talked about it. I mean, the way they develop cornerbacks, and this, usually they develop cornerbacks in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. This is a number one. The size, the frame, everything about this guy. Like I said, Witherspoon, I get it. I understand maybe certain people's perspective of, this guy's the better one. No. Like I said, 6'2", seeing the highlights, this guy tackles
Bill
people.
Belichick was just
he
like...
tackles people.
Yeah.
Like I said, he eats them up. It ain't no cornerbacks where like, oh, they're finesse, they're fast, and they like to play defense. It's like, no, this guy hits people and he hits them hard, and he's also able
Good frame.
yeah, good competition, so on and so forth. He's built like an actual man for the NFL.
Really good athlete, yeah.
The only other one is I will admit, Seattle. You got Witherspoon. You got the talent in the positions that you need.
Smith and Jigba.
Yes,
Yeah.
you got the talent in the
like
positions
Seattle's
that
draft.
you got. Probably the number 2 personally to me. But once again, you filled in a slot. You filled in a need. That team's on the borderline in the playoffs. They just need a couple more playmakers. This and that. He's a starter. Then you got
He helped out both sides of the ball.
the wide receiver to help him out. Like I said, like you said, Smith. I mean, that's easily, yeah. And then you're looking towards the future aspect of it, too. Tyler Lockett ain't going to be there always. You got DK Metcalf. Like I said, you got Walker the third. You got, who else? Is it Noah Fant?
Noah Fant.
I mean, you've got some
They got like
weapons
2 or
there.
3 tight ends that are okay. They're
Once
pretty
again,
good,
say
yeah.
like 2 or 3 years from now, and you're ready to move on from Geno, you still
Right.
got all that young
Right,
talent
exactly.
there.
But I
So,
think they have a chance to be very competitive this
Well,
year in that
once again,
division,
yeah.
too, because you don't know what's going to happen with the 49ers.
Yeah, exactly.
it's the same thing that I think that we talk about with the aspects of like Pittsburgh and New England. Not saying like they're on the cusp of that, but they're always going to be competitive. They were still that good of competitiveness, and now it looks like for 4, 5, 6 years from now, they can always be competitive.
Yeah.
Chris?
Let me look here because you guys both took like basically my top 2 of what I would have taken that I can think of. Let's see, who else do I like here? I'm looking for teams that like got multiple picks in the first
I mean,
round.
I had to be Detroit. I'm not gonna lie, Detroit. Just
No, that's losers. We're getting there. I'll say if like obviously the Eagles did well, but I would say they won the draft in a way even before the draft started because just having the number 10 pick, and you just came off a Super Bowl, you're golden right there.
Yeah.
So if I just have to pick a team with one pick, I'm gonna go. He said the Patriots, and I love that the Christian Gonzalez thing. I'm gonna go the Steelers. You get Broderick Jones, you address a need.
Like that.
You don't mess around. You go, this is exactly what we need. You didn't give up too much, I don't think, to just move in that spot and to ensure that you get, like we talked about, after Broderick Jones, big drop off for tackle into Anton Harrison. So it's like, I think.
And they still pick 32 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I'm thinking Joey Porter Jr.
Right. But the Steelers, like I said, to be a team that's like, well, this guy's available, they're like, no, dude, our offensive line's been trashed for too long. Need to protect Kenny Pickett. Otherwise, like, what are we even doing? So, yeah, I like that. All right.
So let's go in reverse order here.
Okay.
Let's go losers of the draft.
Yeah, opposite.
Chris, you can go
That's
first.
an obvious
Say
pick.
it.
The Detroit
just say
Lions.
Thank you.
Okay, because I was high on the Lions.
Your Detroit
Yeah,
Lions.
I had them winning, and I probably still, as of right now, maybe I do winning the NFC North, but don't know what they were doing. So you go,
Stay off the MGM.
so they had the 6th pick. They traded out of that, right, and give that back to Arizona. They go to 12.
Yep.
And with that pick, they take Jahmyr Gibbs, who that guy was going to be available probably like in the late 20s, I think, at the highest. That's what I was hearing when he would be taken. Big reach. As Jeffrey said earlier, you still have DeAndre Swift. So is there something wrong with DeAndre Swift that we don't know about? Why are you... the comparison that I saw, and I don't agree with, is Jamal Charles. You said you kind of see that. I don't think he's got that kind of speed. I'm sorry.
Well, not even the speed. I just feel like they're completely two different types of players. They're
Jamal
halfbacks.
Speed is what makes him Jamal Charles. It's like
I feel like Gibbs is more of like like if you had to really compare him to someone, he's more of like what? I don't even know, like the size and the strength and everything like that. I'm just like, I don't even know. He's a hybrid between like Adrian Peterson and Derrick Henry. I'm like, Jamal
But
Charles.
not that good, though, yeah.
Yeah, but Jamal Charles was like 5'11", 5'10", and he was speedy. He was like a 96.
he was a
90
track star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see him like that. I see Gibbs, not going to lie, 20, 30 carries, and he's that consistent guy. And when he breaks away, he has breakaway speed, I will admit.
So, like, problem with that pick for the Lions doesn't fill an immediate need.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. And the other problem is you reached for that prospect hard. And as you said, that's a position that unless it's Bijan Robinson or a guy that you're like, that guy's got fucking Pro Bowler all written all over him, I don't see that.
And I think just like Caleb said earlier, and I kind of feel like we're all on the same page of it, especially the nowadays of drafting halfbacks in the first round. It's like, you better take him at like 20 or after because it's just, we've seen it. Even with the...
They have like a 5-year shelf life. and
Yes,
that's
even
it.
with the 49ers, the best halfback, you got Christian McCaffrey. Like I said, how many years did we see him? 2-3 years until he finally was able to be healthy. Same thing with Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, he was great from the get go, but yeah, he just couldn't stay healthy.
Once
Just
again,
kept getting nicked up.
this isn't the 90s. This isn't the early 2000s where you have Barry Sanders and Adrian Peterson. And once again, I don't understand why you would revolve around a top 15 pick to think this halfback's taking
I
us
don't
to
get
the
it.
Super Bowl.
He must have wowed them. I don't know what happened. Okay, so they messed up with that, in my opinion. And then, so the 18th pick, right?
Yeah,
they
18th.
kept that, right?
Yep.
And they took Jack Campbell, the linebacker from Iowa, who I think we were all in agreement we like as a later round prospect.
It's another pick. Once again,
Is
it's
it
all
Dan
like
Campbell's nephew?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
could have drafted both these guys probably either late first or
Into the second round.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I just
Yeah. The thing that just stuns me about that is top 15 picks and 18 is pretty close to 15. Like, you go get yourself blue chip players at high value positions. I think we can all agree running back and linebacker in today's NFL are two of the, if not takeaway specialists, two of the lowest value positions on the board. You can find those guys later in draft. Isaiah Pacheco. Look at what the Chiefs have done drafting second round running backs, or second round linebackers. Like, those are just not positions that you spend high value picks on.
Because in my opinion, unless the linebacker that you're picking is like the next, I'm not going to say Ray Lewis because that's not going to happen, but I'm saying like the next Luke Kuechly, guy that's going to be the captain of your defense that is so instinctual, reads everything. Unless he's that guy, yeah, I don't think you take.
Yeah, and Jack Campbell's not that guy.
Exactly, he's not that guy. So that was a reach. They have the 34th pick.
Yeah.
So we're looking at it right now. It looks like Michael Mayer. If we were the GM, that's probably who.
At
we
this
would
rate,
take.
they're going to pick a center.
maybe a kicker.
So, yeah.
Jeff, your biggest loser in the night?
Oh, it's got to be the
Commanders.
The Commandos. The Commanders? The Commanders?
I don't even know. I think
I don't
they're just
even
the
know
Washington football team after
wait a
this.
second. What's this guy's name again? Hold on.
Chicken legs.
Forbes.
Chicken legs.
Emmanuel Forbes. That sounds like a made-up name. I'm not going to lie. I thought when Roger Goodell came up there and said, Emmanuel Forbes to the Washington Commandos, I was all like, wait, what? This is a joke, right? You know, where's Ashton Kutcher? We got punked, all right? No, this is, like I said, seeing that guy, the body, the height, and the weight, that guy looked like a fucking toothpick out there. And I don't even understand how that guy, it's almost the same thing. It's not even quite the same thing as the Detroit Lions because at least you see the potential in those prospects. That
we just thought
they
they
just
reached-
reached on him
yeah.
really, really fast. This guy, I had no, I don't even know. I didn't even think he was going to be a second. Maybe I could be lost on the draft board, but I didn't think he was going to be a second, third, fourth. I don't know where.
He was valued pretty high for his speed and his cover skills.
My problem,
but
Jeff,
once
is
again-
that Christian Gonzalez was sitting right there.
And once again, Christian Gonzalez. I mean, I brought it up right before the draft. We had DJ Turner, the second from Michigan, that ran a 4.26.
Still available.
So if you're worried about speed and
Yeah.
athleticism, this and that, it's all like, why wouldn't you get the guy that's
Faster. Yeah.
not as tall, but in the same sense has
Doesn't-
more body weight?
Yeah, it doesn't look like he never drank milk in his life.
This is asinine to me. And once again, the Commandos are definitely tanking for next year.
I just think Ron Rivera doesn't know what he's doing.
No, it's the new management. It's the whole. Like I said, they're going to piss as much people off as they can right now until next year when they get one in something.
I used to try to defend Ron Rivera, and I do think he's making some of these decisions.
No, he's getting booted, and Bieniemy's going to be head coach. That's going to happen.
Something's got to happen because he just made too many mistakes. He makes dumb decision after dumb decision. So
I don't think it's necessarily him right now at this point in the marker of his career and as a head coach. I think it's just set up to, and I hate to be like that, but it's very puppeteer-like, and I think, Rivera's getting booted, Bieniemy's coming in, and next year they're putting in Caleb Williams. They're going 1 in something, maybe 0 in something. I don't know.
I would clean house if you can.
Oh yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen this year.
So my loser of the draft is actually the pick right before the Emmanuel Forbes pick. The New York Jets are on the clock with 15, and they take Will McDonald. Will McDonald was a guy that you could have had at the end of the first round into the second round.
You probably could have had him because they have a pick early second round. Yeah.
He's an older prospect. You guys both know how I feel about older prospects. He is literally going to be, with the first round pick, he's going to be 30 years old when he gets to a second contract. That is not ideal when you're spending the 15th pick on somebody. There were players with higher upside and younger that were still on the board, like Nolan Smith and Miles Murphy. And you go with Will McDonald? Like, I get it. You're all in on this year and you care about this year. You're not worried about 5 years down the road if you're the Jets. But go get a playmaker.
That's Dalton Kincaid was there.
Dalton Kincaid was on the board. Yeah. All of the receivers, all 4 of them were still on the board at that point.
Yep.
Like, if you're all in on Aaron
Christian
Rodgers,
Gonzalez was on the board.
Go get as many weapons as you can to keep up with the other offenses in there. Let's be honest, Allen Lazard's great. He's not a number 1 receiver. Garrett Wilson is good. He might be a 1.
It's kind of like you got 2 number 2s.
Yeah. Go get a playmaker. Go get you. Like, they don't have, to my knowledge, they don't have a great tight end on their roster.
No, they have some mediocre guys.
Yeah. So
Conklin
I
and
just did
Uzomah.
not like that pick.
The only thing I will say about McDonald is the aspect of, like we kind of almost talked about it with the Chiefs pick. Maybe he fits into their scheme and their system a little bit more. Because we only saw, 2 more edges that got picked up after that?
Yeah, I think so.
After the draft?
I think so.
There's at least 4 or 5 cornerbacks that were 10 times better than this. I don't even know his name anymore. I just forgot about
Emmanuel
him.
Forbes.
They just forfeited their pick at this point, like the Dolphins.
I love how you call them commandos.
I mean, but for real, though, there's at least 5 guys that we could probably name off the bat that were like Joey Porter Jr. Like I said, I mean, there's.
I just, like I said, first thing I saw.
The pick right after was who they got. The Patriots got Christian Gonzalez. Yeah. It was like, wait, what?
First thing I saw was the legs. Have you ever seen a secondary player with those scrawny legs?
Bad.
Yeah, exactly.
He looks like, what's his name? The track star.
He looks like an NBA.
Usain Bolt, but just not as tall.
You guys know, like in the NBA, do you know who Bol is?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
tall, thin as a rail. That's what he looks like. Not tall like that, but I'm saying like that body type. It looks weird.
And think about we talked about it, but think about the receivers that are in that division. You get CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown.
That's the first thing I said is like, how do you think that guy would do against AJ Brown?
He pushes him over.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
no way he goes 1-on-1 with
him. And he's down.
Also, no, but isn't it, how sad is that like Devontae Smith has more body weight on him than you do?
Yeah,
that's bad.
So that's kind of our wrap up there. Obviously, we're going to give you a little more of a draft recap here. In a week or two, we've still got some more picks. So it'll be really exciting to see what the Chiefs do. I think they're going to move up at some point. You got too many picks, so I'm excited to see what they do tomorrow night.
Well, as you said on the last one, you said we just don't have enough spots to fill everything out with the picks that we have. We probably should trade.
Is there somebody out there right now that you're hoping for the Chiefs draft?
That's how we can end this. Yeah, one last prospect that we're
one last guy. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Me go. Ole Miss.
Wide receiver out of Ole Miss.
Easily.
What's his size?
6'4".
Yeah.
He runs like a 4.4, 4.42, something like that.
That's my thing is if we're going to take a wide receiver, kind of what you guys said this too, we don't really need another slot guy. We don't need another small guy. We need someone that gives us that.
And once again, I know it's like, it's not Andy Reid's system and scheme to draft guys like that and have guys like this, but I'm pretty sure him and Nagy would figure out a way and put him.
I'm not saying he's a Terrell Owens. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying Terrell Owens was not 6'4", but he was a bigger receiver as far as bigger build. And like Andy Reid, Terrell Owens was great, but like Andy Reid, the best Terrell Owens ever played was probably with Andy Reid. I think we would agree with that, right?
I don't know. He was pretty damn good with the 49ers.
And with the Cowboys.
He was good.
Yeah, he was good. I'm just saying that in general, I don't think Andy Reid's going to be like, I can't make that fucking big receiver work.
And true, and our comparison, I know me and Caleb talked about this before. I mean, Juju was almost like the Terrell Owens, except for the factor of he wasn't as big, he wasn't as strong, so on and so forth. But the 6'1", kind of like frame in the possession aspect of it, and almost a little bit of the speed.
Yeah.
That was what, Andy Reid took with Juju Smith-Schuster. It's just the fact that, Terrell Owens was, he was just a beast. You know what I'm saying? Look at the guy. The guy's fucking shredded.
Yeah.
Juju's not really quite that.
Yeah.
That guy, but in the same sense, I just feel like in this system, I feel like once again another guy. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take up all the time in picks. Deuce Vaughn, K-State halfback.
I think you get him in the 5th or 6th round.
But I love it. I love it. That's the next Brian. That's the next Brian Westbrook for Andy Reid right there.
I think more of a Darren
Sproles, yeah.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Chris?
I need to look. Because that's the thing, is like we're not picking until the very end of the second round. So it's like a lot of the guys that I'm like, oh, he's still on the board, they'll be gone by then. So I got to think of someone that might be a little later.
There's another guy. He's Jeff Shearhart. He's actually.
Well, that's a good guy. I hear good things about him.
I hear there's some character. What Chris looks at.
Do we want to bring up the Make-A-Wish kid? Just kidding. No, not okay.
The kid was a good kid. He was a nice kid. All right, okay.
So
stand-up kid.
One of the guys that I really like the Chiefs to go after, if we're really all in on, because Veach really goes after a position group every year. 2 years ago, it was the offensive line. Last year, it was the cornerback room and the defensive backs. You know, he took a corner in the first round, a safety in the second round, and then filled out the draft with 2 more corners. You know, really went after the defensive backs there. This year, maybe he really hammers home the defensive line. He already got Felix in the first round. I love Gervon Dexter out of Florida.
Yeah, you were sending me texts. I mean, I watched the video you sent me.
Reminds me a lot of Chris Jones coming out of college. Can play the inside, very versatile, gets off the ball, plays the run, always is in the backfield. Really like that. Outside of Chris Jones, we really don't have anybody else.
There's a couple guys on 1 years too. What is it, Noddy's?
Yeah, Noddy's on 1 year, and Noddy don't rush the passer.
Even what's his name that kind of outperformed last year? Was it what's his name? Gosh dang it, I'm forgetting it. He outperformed his position last year, and that's why he got a little bit more playing time. But it was his best stat line last year.
Kalen Saunders.
Yeah,
he went to New Orleans.
Oh, wait, he went to. Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
my bad.
So, I mean, really, you don't have a lot of depth there either, and you don't have anybody that's on the inside that you really feel comfortable getting after the quarterback outside of Chris Jones. So, I like that. Like, go after that. Obviously, you took my first one, Mingo. You know, he draws a lot of comparisons to A.J. Brown. I like that. So, I think that's a good one.
Okay, looking here, if I have to go with somebody, I mean, if Brian Branch is available, but I don't think he'll last that long. I don't think so.
No, he's gonna go.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna go pretty quick.
So if I'm looking at somebody else that kind of just flashes at me that I'm like, that would be interesting and maybe we could get him. I mean, there's the pair of Tennessee receivers that might be available, Jalen Hyatt or Cedric Tillman.
Yeah.
Those guys, Josh Downs from North Carolina. So I'm looking at tackles around that area. I'm looking at Kuiper's big board. Tyler Steen from Alabama, he has ranked like 45th overall prospect, offensive tackle, or Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse. I'm not going to pretend like I watched these guys' tapes or anything like that, but I'm just saying that would be around the range of that other pick, and maybe those guys are available because all the teams that needed tackles, they've probably already taken them, and assessed that need. So
I think when we talked about it earlier, I brought up Jalen Duncan.
I'm looking,
really like him. He's going to be more of a third-round guy.
That's what I'm looking how far
But
Kuiper
really
has
like
him
his
down.
athleticism.
Yeah.
He's one of those tackles that really likes to get nasty on the outside, goes after guys. He looks for the little guys on the second level, the corners. He likes to beat up on the guys.
So Kuiper has that, I think, as early 4th round guy. So yeah, I mean, because isn't he like a big ass dude, physical freak? He needs some refinement.
Yep.
I wouldn't hate that if we go, hey, we don't have to start you right away. Like we can, like you said, like we can let him
have a competition.
Yeah.
So
I'd like that pick, and yeah, he was getting early on. He was getting like top 25 like mock draft projections. Yeah. So
Top 3 barbecue restaurants. Go.
in order.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go Oklahoma Joe's 3, Arthur Bryant's 2, and that's my personal favorite. And then I'd say overall best, probably Jack Stack. I'm gonna go Jack Stack.
go ahead.
Jack Stack. Number 2, it's not as good as it once was, but I'm not gonna lie. If it was as good as it once was, I'd say Porky's.
Okay.
But it's not as good. So I have to replace that pick. I'm not gonna lie. I'd probably say number 2 is probably Gates, and then number 3 is probably Arthur Bryant's.
Okay.
I go number 1, Oklahoma Joe's. There's nothing better than the Z-Man. Love that.
I love their ribs.
Their ribs are good.
Yeah.
The Z-Man, those burn ends. Gotta go there.
Yeah.
Sack March. Number 2.
That's what Jeff was going to give the Jets kid.
Hey, whoa! Whoa!
Hey, yo.
Yes, I was going to give him a brown paper bag sack lunch filled with barbecue.
Anyway.
So Jack Stack's number 2. And then number 3, I'm going to go just a little bit outside of city limits. A little Bait City barbecue. Love me some Bait City barbecue.
Oh, underrated.
I've
yes,
never
I like
had it.
Oh, yeah. We'll have to go there one day.
Okay.
Really
Good portions.
stuff.
Good portions.
Yeah,
too.
very good portions.
Yeah.
Healthy portions. So, exciting time.
Really unhealthy. They're actually really unhealthy, but I love those.
Well,
So this is a sign off for episode 4. Episode 5, next time we get together, what are you guys thinking?
a couple weeks.
So draft these next 2 days not happening. I could use the rest, so I'm not complaining. I could sleep.
these next 2 days? No, I feel like that's.
Yeah. No, we'll
Don't
chat
give
it
a
up.
shit about.
Okay.
Maybe the second and third, but after that, it's all
So it'd probably just be like the next fight night, the next UFC probably.
What is the next one?
Cejudo versus Sterling, right?
Let's go.
Oh, Piggy started on Triple
All right.
C.
Episode
Triple C.
4.
Or take a shot.
Thanks, guys.